Hello. um, sorry we're a little late. Oh, James is here. I had a little viola emergency right before we went live. Like my chin
Oh,
rest is like falling off. Like this just we're- okay. Yes, I'm flustered, so I just need to like put this down and stop thinking about it because it's gonna stress me out. Okay, we're putting it down. We are
it's
putting
gonna
it
be
down.
okay.
It's going to be okay.
Bye bye, chin rest.
We are going to be okay. Okay. Yeah. Welcome. Oh my god. I just got yanked. Okay.
Oh,
Um,
hi everybody.
hi. Welcome to another band
Welcome
batch.
to Band Batch.
um, today we're talking
As the
about
Viva.
season crawls
Andor.
on, our technical issues only grow.
Yeah. But this was a strangely
It's-
analog issue. Just part broke off my instrument. Okay.
oh,
Um,
jeez.
welcome. We're going to be talking about Andor episode 11 today, and I see James in the chat who is on the East Coast and not streaming with us today. And thanks for thanks for thanks for saying hi, James. We miss you.
Hi, James.
I don't know. I expected to hear James' voice coming back, and that certainly didn't happen.
It
I'm
just-
so
it
used to
just
just
comes
like paused for James.
We'll have to make a James synth.
Oh, well, okay. Well, I'll chew
You know,
on
like
that.
Q, like a hello from.
Right, right. Oh, you know
Oh,
what? It
oh,
should be some percussion thing that just makes him so bad. Um, just
triangle.
kidding. A triangle
It
hit.
is triangle.
Anyway, wow, Andor episode 11, penultimate episode. I before we get into the music and sound, first I want to ask chat if any sounds or musical moments stood out to you as either you paid more attention to them or that you found them very satisfying or you found them perplexing or boring even. I know I have a couple a couple things to point out, but I feel like the sound was really like satisfying in this episode.
I
Yeah,
think
I
it was very
agree. There
tactile.
was absolutely.
Justin, I thought of you when they were doing the like radio call when Cyril and yeah, when Cyril was
Yes,
was having the bad
I've
connection with yeah.
I've been a big fan of all the telecommunication sounds in detail in this whole show. So seeing that horrific voice chat, I love that it wasn't I know we're kind of just jumping over to that section, but like I like that it wasn't like a hologram chat. We're like so used to seeing, like the little hologram pops up, and this is like a straight up like home landline
Yeah.
in this universe kind of a thing. And it was just
Oh,
a straight video chat. It was his mom's landline, if you think about it. And then hilariously later, we see the equivalent of a payphone. Remember those?
Mhm.
A payphone for Andor calling home to Zan. I didn't know that was
Yes.
their name,
Yes.
Zan. I was like, hey, you made it. You made it,
I
Xanthe.
made
You're
it.
in the show. um, yeah, I thought that was really cool, and I liked all the broadcasts. I always want to know what these switches are actually doing, like, because they start fiddling with it and to try and make it better. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
it is so nice to hear a call that is like dropping things like in a realistic way. I mean, not to contrast it to Darth Maul or to Maul at the end of Solo again and again, but like very realistic. And the script really reflected the like technical issues that they were having. So
hmm
much was lost, and yeah, you could see like Cyril's frustration, and then also like Cassian. First of all, he kept saying no names, and the person on the other side kept using his name, and I was like, ah,
yeah, and then he used Zan's names. I thought
that's
that was
right.
funny. It's like Zan, stop using my name.
Yeah.
I liked the like you said
yeah,
in
it's
the
interesting.
script when Cyril was talking to his I forget the unfortunately the officer's name. It's cool that we
Lost.
got a little update from him after he got fired essentially. Um, and that he's still in Marlana 1 now working. What did he say it was? It was in the background, Smelter or
Smelting?
something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
smelter.
which was interesting. And then, I liked how his lines were like, "What are you doing?" "Yeah, I'm still here." It's like clearly misunderstand, can't hear a word Cyril is saying, kind of thing. It's like, yes, yes, I am fine.
Do you feel
um,
like the sound reflected the ways in which the communication was getting like lost? Like did it feel realistic?
I felt like it did. I would have loved to like hear it on the other side, like with all these like really loud sounds happening. But it was cool that like they were having this like smelting device like charge up, explode, or do I don't know what was going on in the background, kind of a thing. But like it just completely distorted everything he was saying. That was a really nice touch.
Yeah. What
It
about you,
was.
Christina?
The thing that I agree the sounds were great. And I suppose that the microphone on the device must be pretty directional for, I mean, clearly the smelters, there's probably lots of them all around. So it was kind of nice that we didn't really hear that level of, I mean, I just thought it was nice. But the number one thing that I'm thinking of with that is, so like we see lots of holocrons throughout the show because we see a lot of upper class citizens communicating who
Hmm.
have a lot of wealth. And so I like, Justin, that you said that this video chat was basically like the landline that people are using. So it's kind of showing like this is what the well off average Joe, upper middle class person, I suppose, has available to them as their main form of communication. And it's just interesting that yeah, they're not using a fancy holocron that little pocket item or an
Yeah.
astromech to communicate.
Right. It reminds me kind of like of when some people have those cameras at their doors, or at least at, I don't know, at the door of their apartment or something. And then I guess people can
Hmm.
sometimes call in and you can see who's like at your door and
Oh yeah.
talk to people through the door. It kind of reminded me of that as well.
Hmm. What's interesting though is what I'm noticing. Again, only this channel would pick apart these things. What's funny to me is that there's no privacy to these phone calls, to these telecommunications. I
Was
think the
just
most
thinking of
private
that.
thing we
Hmm.
got was like when Bix was using, the code kind of a thing, and I don't know if they were talking or if it was just the coded message, but like earlier in this show, Cyril's having this conversation with his mom. Is like, yeah, I heard you talking to Uncle. It's like
Hmm.
hard to miss all of your great praise. Like he's being sarcastic and kind of frustrated. So it's like, and then here he is. It's like, go away. Let me talk to this speakerphone. Kind of, it's like our equivalent of everything was on speakerphone all the time. Um, she could hear him down the hall, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So it's funny how there's been no like, and I'm thinking like even in like the little private small holocron stuff, you're just like
Like
anyone
hologram.
in the vicinity can hear this. Yeah, hologram. Yeah, like anyone can like see this and hear this.
Although it
It's
does
just
occur to
funny how
me.
there's like,
Yeah.
go
I, I
ahead.
want I wonder if they have versions of calling without video though, because like when Cyril's mom talked to Uncle Harlow,
Hmm.
I got the sense that Cyril was only hearing the mother's side, not like the whole speaker, because he was like, "Oh, I couldn't hear his part" or something. Like he did say something about that.
Oh yeah, you're
So,
right. You're right. Okay. Yeah, maybe, and I guess okay. Now that we're like going back, I guess there's a part in Aldani where they had obviously like ear communicators and stuff
mhm.
like that and microphones like that. But it is just I don't know
Yeah, they
interesting
def
how like not private.
Right, right.
they definitely have earpieces, but if you move home with Cyril's mom, everything you do is on speakerphone.
Right.
And
Yes.
she does not even go all the way down the hallway. She makes a
Right.
point to go only far away enough so that you think she might not be listening, and then she makes a condescending comment as she leaves.
Yes, she says, "The mystery of your
Because
former triumphs have been vanquished. I can sleep peacefully now."
Oh.
She's horrible.
Ugh.
Um, we're just since we're on it, so like maybe like one of my favorite Sonic, well, I guess one of my favorite dramatic moments was it was like 21 minutes right leading up to 22 minutes in was the first time we see Cyril's mom in the show, but it was basically Mon Mothma's face in complete tragedy after she's kind of telling Vel like that she's found a solution, and she's basically
Mhm.
gazing with incredible like sadness and like disbelief at her terribleness, uh, gazing like that into the camera. A slow kind of build up starts to happen the way that you would have in a horror film, but I realized it wasn't so dramatic unless you're also seeing Mon Mothma's face of horror, because later on I went and listened
Mhm.
without watching and it wasn't nearly as scary.
Hmm.
But then Cyril's mom pops in and says like and
Oh yeah, that.
it was
I
such
remember
a
that.
good moment. It was like, oh, she's so scary. She provides the maximum like actual horror feel of the show. I don't know, like I can't think of anything that's more definitively scary than Cyril's mom. There are
Really?
exciting
Okay.
things, but in terms of I don't know, like terror. What am I trying to say? Like I don't know, like yeah. I mean, clearly Narkina 5 was a horrible place, but it almost wasn't portrayed the way that Cyril's mom is portrayed. It makes me think of like the Babadook or something like that. Like
Mhm.
it's like you only she pops in scary ways. Her voice, my
Yeah,
So
I
thoughts.
what is the
agree with you. And
Babadook?
not
Did you say
The
Babadook?
Babadook is just an example of a scary thing that lives in your basement
Oh, okay, like Bloody
that
Mary
you
or
might feed bad guests
something.
to. Yeah.
Oh. Oh, okay. Oh.
a fantastic movie. Um,
It's like this. It's like the Rancor at Boba Fett's
yeah,
palace.
it's just down there. Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you, Christina. And I think what makes Cyril's mom in a way so terrifying is that of all the fantasy aspects of just Star Wars in general, she's probably the most like real thing that someone can relate to as like, oh wow, that's I know this person quite real. Like this is like you know what I mean? It's not like we have all these terrible things that we're imagining can happen if we were in this universe, the Star Wars universe. But here is like this thing straight from like the bowels of our families. You know what I mean? It's
Mm-hmm,
like
mm-hmm.
this is that relative, that relative, and so that's terrifying in itself. And it's cool because you're
Yeah.
right. This musical cue, like going into her appearing, it's. I was just listening to it now too. It's building up like this kind of horror movie soundtrack strings, but it's got that same Mon Mothma cadence I've been bringing up. It's got that weird classical esque cadence, but it's still just so creepy.
And then
So
Sarah.
It's a call for you.
I found that when
Cyril,
I found that when Vel was with Clea, I felt like the music reminded me of the music when Mon Mothma is in Luthen's shop as well. It wasn't like at least like the chords, sure for sure. The like descending wasn't there. It wasn't like the full on Mon Mothma theme, but it was sort of that like a hint of it, the Mon
a
Mothma
little
theme
bit,
slash
yeah.
espionage thing. Um, yeah, just like a bit of that suspension of I don't know the tension between them. There's always tension when a character is in Luthen's shop because there's like the conversation and then there's like the the performed there's the guise of being at the shop and then there's the conversation and sometimes the conversation is very coded or encoded
Hmm.
language or whatnot and so yeah just always a very tense place. Shout out to the
I
Gungan
like the
It
shield
is.
there though.
yes, the Gungan shield in the background there.
Yes.
There's been a lot of I think I sent you a video of all these like Easter egg people who are calling it Easter eggs, like all these things in Luthen's shop that are just. But the Gungan shield is great.
Yeah, really
It
good.
was really cool, that video that you sent of yeah, kind of a review of the items we have seen there, and where they were in the shows. It was cool.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, Clea did not appreciate Vel's refusal to play along and to just be like, "Is anyone
Yeah.
here? Like, where is he?" Like, uh, Clea does not like that sort of thing at all. We already know that Clea is, she's got kind of a spider situation to her, I think. She's kind of like a predatory spider person in some ways. Like, she's kind of
Hmm.
stalking around Vel. Like, I don't know. And I also picture that how she was just saying she's coordinating so many different people uh, who all are terrified the way that Vel is terrified. And so I also therefore kind of picture a spider person who has their, like 8 limbs to be
Hmm.
reaching out and coordinating with people. Maybe it's more of an
Octopus.
ideological spider.
Mm.
Octopus. But I feel like octopuses are kind of benevolent. Oc- Not really, but like not the well, yeah, a spider or an octopus, they're just living their lives. But there aren't any movies about people living with a spider for a long time and
That's
falling in
true.
love
I guess
with
I
the
just
spider.
associate like
Uh,
more limbs that can separate themselves more with octopuses than spiders. I feel like their limbs are kind of
totally.
usually, I don't know though.
Yeah.
Intricacies is, I don't know. But I feel like their limbs move more together. But anyway, um, my viola is out of commission.
Yeah.
I could get my violin out,
Yeah.
but
But
the suspension. Oh, no, I was going to mention just the suspension that was happening at that shop where there's chords changing underneath it, but
Mm.
there's like this, there's, like it's an F sharp played on the string, played on the violin, or something like that, that just holds. It's like an upper pedal tone, while underneath there's like, well, it's more like up. And it's all over this, while this note sustains,
mhm.
right? So we have like just, so the chords which, follow a pretty standard, minor 1, minor 4, 5, 7, sort of like a, you know, um, 1 tonic, and then, very common, go to the subdominant, 4, and then 5, not voiced all that way, but just having that suspended note the whole time
Yeah.
kind of makes it feel like, I don't know, like like the suspended note for me is like the shop. It's like the facade in one way. It's like we're still holding on to a little bit of this semblance
Hmm.
of, a facade or whatever. The other
Well, no,
side.
no, funny enough, now running with that, um, because suspensions in chord changes and stuff like that, when we have a note that's suspending underneath movement, it helps us with tension. It helps
Hmm.
us with this kind of like in terms of Western tonal music, this tension and resolution. We're like waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, like because we know this note is going to become something, but it doesn't fit with everything else, but it does. And then we finally get that resolution. That's funny that you say with like if that suspension would represent the shot being steady. Here comes Vel with kind of the Mon Mothma esque chord changes.
Hmm.
You know, fighting against that until I think I'm listening now the very end of the transition into the next scene, it all comes together again. It's almost like Vel submitting a bit, like, okay, I get it, but not. It's like order has come back to this tense scene. Everyone's back in their own control. Because it is really interesting that Clea is just not okay with Vel messing up the system here. I mean, I get why there's a system for a reason, but Vel just she doesn't know how to deal with someone just having such disregard who's on her side, but have such disregard to the rules that they've set to the point. I mean, like even Luthen over the radio comm, we all know what they're talking about, but it's like,
Mhm.
oh, the art collector. What about this collection? Oh, you should come home.
Mhm.
It's a buyer's market. Blah 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 blah. You know, and you can just tell they both want to be like, just come home. It's we're not gonna get them. It's but they have to like hold
Yeah.
to it. You
Why is
know.
Vel so? Why is Vel mad, or what's going on? I wasn't exactly
I
sure what's happening.
I think I mean this is my own speculation. I think part of it is like Vel obviously misses Cinta
Yeah,
and doesn't understand why they can't communicate with each other. Understanding that it's dangerous and things like that. She's trying to probably find every reason to go back to Ferrix. But also, this was like what right before she finds out how bad Mon Mothma, because right after
right. She
this she
hasn't
goes to
found out
Mon
yet.
Mothma.
Hmm.
You know how bad that is, but it's like this. I don't know, because she was also ordered to go to find Cassian.
Yeah.
Clea told
Well,
her we're gonna find Cassian, so she has, but she's starting to see through perhaps all this like Luthen Clea stuff
but
in a bit.
Clea wants to get rid of Cassian. That's for sure. Clea is the one who
Yeah,
told
and Luthen
Vel.
wants.
Yeah, Luthen
Mhm.
and Clea are the ones who told Vel that she needs to get rid of Cassian. And then
Mhm.
when Vel comes in the shop, she says, "My cousin, I understand she shops here. Senator Mothma." And then, "Are we alone?" And then she, Vel is basically like, "I don't have time for this. I sent up a flag this morning. What would the flag have been about?"
Oh, I
It would
think
have been
she
a
wants
flag.
to. Go ahead.
Yeah, it
Go
would have
ahead,
been
Christina.
that Cassian's mother Marva died, and right? Like, is that what the
Yeah.
flag definitely is? Like, she would have somehow
Yeah.
heard from Cinta that the mother died, and I like that you pointed out that she misses Cinta because I think that's part of where her urgency is coming from
Mm.
because this is her reason to go back to be with Cinta to go to Ferrix. And there's one more thing that it is that some people I guess it takes a lot of getting used to. Like Clea is probably super used to the fact that you do something crazy like Aldani, and then you lay low for a crazy long time, and you basically spike your adrenaline in this insane way, and you're like at the center of the galactic
Hmm.
universe in terms of drama. And then you're expected to just not exist for a really long time. And not only to not, that's not true. You can't not exist in the Empire world, you have to play along. You can't even just hide because that's suspicious. You have to play a part that is pro Empire. And Val doesn't really seem down to do that. She's like, I just took a stand. Like, I'm going to make comments. I'm going to, make people like try to get people to feel uncomfortable about, say, weird Empire things. And everybody
Mhm.
else is like, no, 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 no. Like, you need to play the spoiled rich girl. Like that's your role. You need to play it. And Vel really doesn't want to. And so I think like that's what her drama is about in this moment. It's about like I need to release this energy that I've got inside me. I don't know what to do with it. I did all Donnie and and she kind of yeah, it makes more sense now too, where she's like, I did Aldani recently. What have you done, Clea?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it
Oh
has to
yeah,
do
that
with
was like
having
ooh.
this insane tension. Yeah, I think that's what's up.
I guess I haven't really seen Vel like be a really hardcore revolutionary outside of Aldani. Like, even I get that she doesn't like playing spoiled rich girl very much, and later we see, when Mon Mothma's like, "We did this to the, whatever the Chandrillan, whatever weird stuff that was," and Vel was like, "You did,"
Mhm.
like she doesn't really want to do that, but I don't see her like really going out of her way to be like to agitate people. She still does feel Vel still to me feels like she's following some kind of like Vel to me is hardly like a rogue by any stretch of the imagination.
Mhm.
Even Aldani was very like rigorously trained, like they trained, they planned for it, whatever. She didn't even want to take Cassian because of the potential danger. Like she's she does things that are well planned. And so I guess I just wasn't expecting this tension between Vel and Clea. Like,
Yeah.
unless they're both kind of vying for Luthen's approval as well, because that's how that line, like, she didn't say just like I did Aldani. She was like, I gave him Aldani. Like, I gave, like, the way it was phrased, like, the look on her
Yeah.
face. I gave him Aldani. Like, Aldani was such a huge thing. She lost people that, like, to talk about Aldani like it was just like, well, I got him ice cream. Like, to talk about it like it was just like kind of a small thing, or to just use it as like a playing card or something, was really jarring to me. Like, not in a bad way, just like, whoa, she pulled the Aldani card
Yeah.
like that.
I have an
It
idea
does
why
feel
it was
like.
jarring. Yeah, tell
Oh, go ahead,
Justin. Yeah, what
Christina.
do you think, Justin?
No, I was
Sure.
just kind of agree with you, Christina, in the sense that I feel like, yeah, she was on Aldania. It was this rigorous planned thing, but she mentioned, I think, along in an early episode, like, we've been living on dirt and breadcrumbs for months. This is what rebellion looks like, or this is something along those lines. And then all of a sudden, yeah, she has to go back to being the rich girl, and maybe that's where she felt more at home. I don't mean like home, but like more useful. Like, that to her was what the rebellion was supposed to look like, not this like shady behind the scenes flag sending up coded communication kind of thing. Like, no, we're supposed to be going in and like doing, and now here I am back with all this nonsense again. Like, what's going on? Anyways, I felt that
Totally.
too.
Yeah.
Matthew, I mean, yeah,
Yeah, I
Matthew and
like.
Christina are making the same point. Like, this makes sense to me that her reasons are not necessarily as big as her like reasons inside, where she just wants to spend time with Cinta again. What were you saying, Christina?
Totally.
Yeah.
Ziggy said she would be good. She told me. But yeah, so I think you are a problem, small child. Uh, yeah, so the other thing that I see here is there are different arenas of a rebellion and of a society that against which you can fight and in which you can play. So Aldani was primarily a military mission, and that's the aesthetic that was present. Similarly, Clea is kind of like a military commander whose job is to delegate all these different things to different people. So Clea, like, when it's like, what did you give Luthen? Clea is like, I'm his like top general. Like, what are
Yeah.
you talking about? Like I literally do everything that he needs. Like, I enact everything that he's like the leader. I was gonna say emperor. Um, but so there's that. At the same time, I wouldn't have thought of that if it hadn't been for Vel bringing in the political aspect of I gave him Aldani. That's political speak. That's like, as a human, I was able to offer him this, and therefore, politically speaking, I should be given the same or a comparable amount of respect or
Mm-hmm.
something, or at the very least, prestige, respect, audience at the very
Mm-hmm.
least.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of also a common theme throughout the Star Wars universe, is just different politicians wanting something to be theirs that they found. We see it in the ISB with Dedra and with that guy who used to be in charge of Ferrix, who
Mm-hmm.
like
Levin.
it just really matters to
Mm-hmm.
him that if it is to do with Ferrix, that he's the one who finds it. Like, so I just kind of wanted to point out the fight in the political arena and the rules there, and how they're different from the fight in the military arena and the rules there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point.
Interesting.
Jeannie asks,
And of course, I learned it from Thrawn. That
yeah,
was
right.
not
Yeah,
entirely.
for sure.
Ding 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 ding
For
ding.
sure. I was also gonna say that the communication that they had with the like landline did remind me also of Thrawn with Arinda Price and the
I'm gonna
mom
get a
that she
Thrawn
visits.
horn. Hold on. I need a Thrawn horn. Or like a bell every time the first time Thrawn is mentioned.
Okay, so Jeannie asks, does she, and I'm pretty sure this is in reference to Clea, have a theme or a motif? I get so immersed in this show, I never seem to pick things out. This definitely deserves a rewatch. And to that,
Good
I say,
question.
like, I'm not sure that she has a motif because
I,
we do hear music when she's on screen, but there's all, but there's other things happening. So I'm not sure that I mean, I guess if I rewatch, this is one thing where maybe if I rewatch, I'll notice music associated with Clea that's not also when Luthen is there, and that's not also when she's in the shop, that's not also when she's talking to a Mothma, because all of that music kind
Mm,
of is like, she's kind of wrapped up in the music that happens there. And
interesting.
aside from like until we get like confirmation from the composer or we can see the track listings or whatever, I guess we never really know exactly what the themes pertain to until we see more evidence and then can, you know, draw those lines of connection, right?
Right.
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah, I haven't sensed a theme of for Clea or Vel or, I mean, like specifically something standing out for them.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and Deidre's kind of had like, or Deidre's kind of had like,
The
we had the
ISB theme.
triangle for a second, and then but
Right.
it's like always been kind of like the ISB theme, but she had a
Right.
triangle for a moment.
Right. And we didn't
Hasn't
know.
come back.
Dedra?
Yeah. And we didn't know until, yeah, we had to just keep watching to know if that was going to be like an actual thing or not. But Clea is so
Yeah,
interesting to
Deidre for
me.
like 2 episodes had this triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was an exciting time, James.
What interests you about Clea?
Well, first of all, like she when we first meet Clea in one of the first episodes, I think episode 4, she's so out of the way. Like you might underestimate her. Um, it's all about Luthen and Mon Mothma. And the first time we meet Clea, she is telling Mon Mothma's driver, like, trying to distract him from the conversations that, get him away. And so she's sort of like she comes off as a very good, well attuned, like, assistant who knows what the boss would want her to do, which was get him away. She's like, oh, we have some very interesting coins, whatever. That's what that whole conversation is. And as the episodes progress, we see that she's actually like way more involved and sometimes not controlling, sometimes very like bossy. We see how much influence she has over Luthen. She not only is like Luthen's assistant, but she's like keeping him in line sometimes,
Yeah.
reminding him of his own, who he is and who he needs to be. She's like, you're slipping. Um, that whole thing, like that is like the line I keep going back to. She just like yells at him. She's like, and you're slipping. Um,
I love
and
that.
yeah, me too. And
Yeah.
then her little like the first time we see her away from Luthen, it's like she takes this very long walk to meet Vel personally to take care of business on her own, away from Luthen. She shows like she plays this subservient role, but she also like really takes care of business. And so I can see why Clea would be annoyed with Vel sort of brushing her off, like, what have you done? Kind of
Yeah.
missing the person who was always there doing all of this, like keeping the ship running basically is Clea. She's listening in on the lines every day, like she's picking up on, Bix's communication. She's like, yeah, I don't know. And also I think
Totally.
she reminds me of like Magenta from Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, nice. I like
Not
that
only
you
all that,
were
but
mentioning
just
the I love that you were mentioning the assistant thing because that so I don't know if I've said it, but I do work as a personal assistant sometimes, and the really interesting part about that work is that the person who is, of course, like some kind of leader in some way to have a personal assistant. What they're really doing is giving the assistant the authority to be like to crack the whip in whatever way they need to, and to be the one who's like, no, 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 you have to do this, or to be the one that's like, no, that's not a good look for you, you can't do that. Or the one, it's really fascinating in terms of that power
Hmm.
dynamic, and the fact also, I think what you're also noticing is that it's kind of like not recognized in terms of the role of the assistant. It's like you
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't think that the assistant is the one who's going to yell at Luthen. However, that's actually her job.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the really interesting part. Yeah, I just think that's an interesting. I'm sure that's not the case with all assistant situations, but basically, part of the assistant thing is that the person is such a big personality that the only way to it's not very easy to give guidance of any kind to someone like that sometimes.
Yeah.
And Luthen definitely we know now how scary he can be after the last episode.
Yeah. Wow. I I, I need an
Interesting.
assistant. I need someone to crack the whip at me. What,
Speaking
Christina?
of
Speaking of whips?
oh no, it's okay. I was
Oh,
gonna say, speaking of whip cracking,
What?
sure. Continue.
my I made the most ridiculous drawing that I will show you guys of Dedra, because there was a great moment in this show. It was, we want to put them in a box, stand back and watch. And other than showing you, I'm gonna text you Chrysanthe.
Okay.
Just like it, like I like showing the actual faces of the people on the screen, and I'll just take a picture of my drawing too, because we all know it's not gonna come across. But I just thought this was pretty funny. My drawing is terrible. I'm gonna say I'm proud of it in a D horror movie way. But yeah, I think that moment was great. It was another one where Dedra's eyes just, you know, she's like she's really terrifying. It's really funny.
Hmm. Hmm.
She
Um,
is terrifying. She's so terrifying. I also, yeah, let me put them
and
side by
she's
side.
here. Oh gosh.
Uh-oh.
So here we have
Oh,
here we
it
have
looks like something
Dedra
from the wall. It's so funny.
with her, like, yeah, I'm not saying that this was an accurate drawing. It was more like let's go with, yeah, I'm not even, oh yeah. Wait, we've got Dedra, and then we've got all her little
Yeah,
ISB
yeah.
minions over there who, and I love the idea of being able to say something like that, and they're all just like, as you wish. Very, I love like her, how she's got her subordinates. They're doing that. She's living her best life in this moment, I think. The only way that could improve is if it was Dedra there, and then Cyril was the minion taking action, which he may be in the next
He
episode.
may
Who knows?
be.
Because he's going to Ferrex right
He's,
now. Yeah,
everyone. I think everyone's going to Ferrex now. It's gonna be a showdown on Ferrex.
yeah,
I
Um,
that's true.
I
well, it's
am
that's
nervous about the
interesting.
last episode.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see
Well, I'm
what's
not
about to
I'm
happen.
nervous in a like a will I I'm nervous about me as an audience member.
Hmm.
Because sometimes when things culminate in a thing like that, I I miss a lot of things, or like for some reason the impact doesn't always impact me as much. But this is also Andor, and so a lot of sort of my usual preferences haven't really applied here. Um,
Hmm.
and so this will be interesting. I don't know. I can't. I think it's because I can't imagine them all on Ferrex doing something that is not cheesy together, which is the job of the show to make it work. And so it's like exciting, but also I always put myself. I think maybe I'm thinking from the perspective of if I had to make this work, what would I do? And I'd be like, this would be very hard.
Hmm.
It's almost like I had this vision of it becoming in a very silly way. Like I think they're like what are they, Guy Ritchie movies? Like there's a movie called Snatch, I believe, and there's just it's every there's this it's a story about like all these different people doing very different things with this very weird loose interconnected relationship, and it all just comes together at the end, and everyone is kind of confused about like what the other person is doing there, but they all have personal intentions to be at this like same spot.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a thing. So and those movies are actually like really funny. So, but I'm kind of seeing like a serious situation where it's like we get Cyril, we get Andor, we get Luthen and Vel, or and Cinta, and all these people, and we get Dedra, we get the ISB, and like they all come to this spot, and they all encounter all these people trying to get Andor, and Andor is sitting there confused, like, who are all of you? Like, what is going on? And in a way, like Andor will either get away or get captured. We know it's going to be one of the two. He's either going to get away or he's going to be captured, and we're not going to find out what happens until next season.
And also, which faction will get him, right? Like, who of them?
Exactly, which group, or will I almost want to say in like a very Andor way, like how this show is just kind of doing these like weird things. He'll get away with still no knowledge of what was going on. Like everyone will ruin each other's plans without Andor realizing it's even going on.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like the Empire had Andor, but not realized it was him. So it's just, but yeah, I think I'm agreeing with what Matthew was saying.
Cyril is going to mess things up.
Cyril, I've been saying Cyril's gonna appear at the worst and best moment. He's just gonna come in guns blazing, like I'm gonna solve everything, and then accidentally like trip and power down all of Ferrix by accident, and then
I can't wait to see Dedra's face when she sees Cyril walk into her little box, the one that she's so excited about. When Cyril walks in, and I'm kind of picturing him, like I'm picturing mid-funeral, Cyril walks in and says something like, "Where's Cassian Andor?" I don't know, I'm sure he's not gonna, he's more of a sly one than that, but still.
I hope that's the moment the triangle comes back. Like her face appears and you just hear this like ding, this like doom ding. With way too much reverb, kind of a thing.
We will definitely have to hear the time grapplers again next episode, I'm sure. Yeah. But the thing is, like, I think, well, okay, the show, in terms of understanding Cassian himself, I do understand, or I'm not sure Cassian, I don't understand Cassian like I want to yet, which is not tripping me up, because to me this is not a show about Cassian. To me it's a show about the people, surrounding Cassian, and Cassian. It's sort of, it's, the name Andor has not really ever tripped me up. Maybe it's because he doesn't really go by that name in the show, so I forget. I forget that the show is technically named after him. He himself is sort of like a character with a lot of opacity still. Or I guess conversely, I could think of him as sort of translucent enough that like other characters shine through him, and we meet other characters and see them through his interactions with them. And it's not that I don't get a sense of Cassian's character, because we know things he cares about. I think we can predict some of his actions at this point, but still there's so much that he hides from the audience and from even his friends. Like he doesn't even tell Melshi that his mom died. He says, "Everything okay?" So there's Cassian is someone who has not let pretty much anyone in, really. I mean, he's let them in enough to like plan a prison escape and to he has inspired people. He has been a good friend to people, or he has helped people. He's been part of things. But yeah, his emotionally, he's a pretty closed chamber at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think
He is.
thinking about a plot point where everyone is trying to go after him, I'm almost sort of like, why? I'm not sure if I care enough about Cassian to really know what I want the outcome. Like I don't know what I want the outcome to be,
Yeah.
which I think is not a bad place to be. But yeah, and I
And
almost
at the
don't
same,
even remember some of the reasons. Like some of the reasons seem so silly.
yeah. And at the same time, again, we're still in like the what ifs of this next episode. Like, there's nothing really like certain yet. There's a good chance he doesn't even go because
Yeah.
even he recognizes the danger.
Yep.
Like, there's a good chance that, I mean, yeah, that's like the emotional response that we would expect
I don't
from
know.
a
Actually, I would
protagonist to
expect him.
like,
I would expect him not to go, which I think is why the idea of a plot converging on Ferrex feels weird to me. Like that Cassian would go back.
right. I guess maybe that's the cheesy thing then.
Hmm.
Like, that is the cheesy response is, oh, now I need to go back and pay my respects to my mother instead of laying low, continuing to lay low for a second and then going to find. I loved the fact that they had that ritual and that tradition of becoming a brick and being one with the city kind of a thing. I loved that. So maybe he finds her brick later.
Hmm.
But like, can you imagine if all this goes down and still Cassian is not there? And they're all looking for him, but they're all messing with each other's plans and something happens. Um, that would be absolutely wild. And actually, speaking about Marva, um, is she really dead?
Well,
I don't know
they
because
they did parade a body,
a body,
but it was
and we
covered.
haven't seen her dead. We've been very
Okay,
prominent about
true,
not
true.
showing her passing only her coughing earlier, like 2 episodes ago, but then just little references, and then even B, which we need to talk about his sound,
Oh
or
yeah,
B's sound, which
yeah.
was
Mm.
amazing. Even B doesn't see
Mhm.
Marva. And there's that little line where they're like, okay, B, let's go. It's like, no, I want to wait and let's make sure that she's not coming back. Like he's confused, kind
But
of a
why
thing.
would like Brasso and Jezzy?
I
Why
don't,
would they?
I don't know. I just for some reason like I feel like they moved her, like they got
Okay.
her out or something like that, or made it look like maybe staging her death is getting them trying also to get Andor back. I don't know.
That
It really feels like for some reason that she's not dead.
interesting.
And they're trying really hard to make it look like she's dead. Maybe this is one of her crazy plans. She just tried to
I would
like,
like that for her.
well, you know, um, and then but we have this amazing emotional response from B. I love B. That little I want B and BB-8 and all of them in my life. But not only having like his like speech with his stutter, his cute little stutter, but the little like semi puppy dog noises he was making and
Hmm.
excitement noises when what's it
Brasso was gonna
what's
stay
the
over
Brasso is like, okay, I'll
one
stay one
night.
night, and then he like jumps up and he just gives these like these
Yeah, like he
like
exits his little thingy,
Ah,
cute
wherever he
little high
was.
pitched like aw, I'm like
I
you
know.
know it's and that's what you get from practical effects, my friends, because I'm pretty sure he's for the most part a practical effect. um
I love what they do with B. Well, okay, wait. First, I want to read this. I love the
hmm.
comparison with Snatch, a scene on Ferrex where they all unknowingly affect each other would be amazing. Watch out for the blue milk. It's been a long time since I've seen Snatch, but yeah, something like I can see something like that. Matthew says Andor doesn't realize how much people are looking for him. That's true. Yeah, he managed to sneak around on
hmm.
Ferrex before without any problems. That's true. And then what
Yeah,
would be great
that's
would be for Cyril to get arrested and the episode end up with Cyril in a white jumpsuit on Narkina 5, if that place
Oh.
is even still operational. And then, as an assistant to a senior level manager, I can 100% support Christina's comments. Thank you, Jeannie.
thank you, Jeannie.
Yeah,
Oh my
fascinating.
gosh, yeah. That is Andor's kind of. So we don't know almost anything about his personality, and that's kind of one of the only things that we have been told is that he's just consistently out of the loop. That people are always like, "Wait, you don't know what's going on?" People are like, "Wait, did you like his Marva is like, did you hear about Aldani?" And he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about. It's just a bank robbery." Like
Mm.
that's kind of his whole MO at this time.
Like he pretends
And
to be out
that's
of the loop, you
so
mean?
Mhm.
well, because yeah, I mean, but he also like deludes himself out of the loop even.
Hmm.
Yeah, like it's even deeper than pretending, I think. Like he almost can't he does not want to see the loop. Like he is trying as hard as he possibly can to just like his life, what he's doing right now. I don't know, like to me that like he's not often motivated by the greater good kind of stuff. Like that's not really. I saw your smile, um, but yeah, I mean, I feel, but he is in Rogue One, and so I feel like there is some kind of personality shift, character development that's happening over the course of this. Um, but to me, yeah, he did kind of have that whole like oh, the Empire, there's no way we can really beat them. Like, what's the point? Like, we're just
Mhm.
at this point, it's just fighting to save ourselves, and all I can really care for is me, Marva, Bix.
Although with the
He
prison
doesn't even
arc,
really seem to care about B.
he does
Oh.
seem like I feel like we are seeing him see outside of himself, and especially at the end of the episode when he separates with Melshi. Although all of that came from Melshi, like we have to tell people what
Yeah.
happened, we have to split up, and Cassian says yes, but again, I guess we don't know to what extent he is feeling the same thing that Melshi does. I mean,
Even the way that Cassian became such an amazing leader in the prison break, technically, he still needed that to happen just so he
could
and
get out.
his good friend, I just was going to call
His
him
good
Andy
friend
Serkis,
Kino.
sorry. Kino, like he like in a way, like he's still stuck with his own and with Kino, like the two of them. And it's just I like not that he's a selfish person or any, I guess I'm not specifically saying that. I guess I just feel like he purposely detaches himself from the bigger picture or from anything like that. And so it's very, very reasonable that in the next and final episode, that he's going to be totally unaware of everything and, or, only aware of, I mean, I'm sure he picks up on stuff really quickly. Uh, but, I don't think he's going to go in being like, this is about me. I think he's going to go in, that's not going to be what he's thinking. I don't know.
I kind of feel
Yeah.
not. I feel kind of like he does see a bigger picture, bigger than himself. To the fact, no, okay. I guess it depends on how much we're zooming out because he
Mm.
takes care of. Like, I don't think he would have done the whole prison breakout just to save himself and Kino, because he had also no problem leaving the Aldani crew. Like, and he was clearly growing closer to, the people on that crew and Nemec and everything. He didn't try to like. He will not jeopardize. He will not prioritize relationships and people that he cares about. He won't prioritize that if that gets in the way of some sort of like a greater goal or purpose. So like he had no qualms like I think if I cared about no, I'm probably not going to be in a position where I need to like, kill someone like he killed Skeen, but like there was no shot. He didn't let there be a negotiation before he shot Skeen. He even though they
Mhm.
had kind of started to get closer, he wasn't going to put that in front of what he knew would probably be just like an even bigger problem in many more ways. You know, he wasn't going to just give his friend the benefit of the doubt or whatever. He was just going to, you know, just take care of it, just take care of business. So I feel like Andor is someone who takes care of business, even if it is kind of probably personally hurtful for himself. I think yeah, and then he left Nemec. I mean, Nemec died, of course, so it's not like he left him, but like he didn't even want the manifesto. He sort of he wasn't thinking really for himself, although unless his greater goal is to take care of himself. So it's kind of like, I don't know, it's hard to separate those things because also one's attachments are kind of can get subsumed into what it means to be oneself. Like when Anakin is taking care of himself, it by extension means because he's taking care of the people he's attached to. Cassian doesn't do that. So I can see Cassian being like, you know, he has this greater purpose. He doesn't want to get caught. He's very street smart. And I can see him not going to Marva's funeral, or I can see him not wanting to, I can see him being like, okay, I guess that's over. Like, I'm not going to be sentimental about it. I'm just going to go to the next place to have a new name. I can see him doing that.
Absolutely. He doesn't, you used the word that I was like gearing up, like attachments. That's it. He basically succeeds in the Jedi concept of attachments. He does not have them except in a very few places, and even then it's not clear like that. And then you also mentioned Anakin. Like I was just reading in Revenge of the Sith a conversation between Anakin and Obi-Wan, where Obi-Wan is like aware that as a Jedi, you're not supposed to go save your friend if it means condemning an entire planet to death. But Anakin absolutely would save his friend, often Obi-Wan. And that's kind of part of the thing, is that some people do keep attachments and that can be a detriment. And yeah, basically I think it's just that Cassian definitely kind of has the Jedi concept of attachments, you know, in hand. I mean, he's able to shoot people without hesitation. The moment he realizes that someone is a direct threat, no hesitation. Like, I feel like the only way that you can do that is to not have to think through so many attachments.
Yep. Jeannie says, I think he will return to Ferrix because he wants to spread the word about what is happening in those prisons. Where else would he start? The thing is, like, I am not convinced that he wants that. I guess we'll see, right? I need to ban someone from the chat really quick. Wow, there's a spammer happening. Okay. Okay. Good thing I saw that. So, yeah, I mean, I would like to see him spread the word. I guess we'll see how much prison Aldani potentially radicalized him. I'm not convinced that he wasn't radical before, and I'm not convinced. I don't know where he is in the journey. He does still have Nemec's manifesto, though.
Yes.
Maybe he does like publish the manifesto somehow along with information about Narkina 5. That would be pretty interesting. Or he's so amorphous. It's pretty amazing that there's so much emphasis on clear characters nowadays, I think, about like the character being pretty obvious and their traits being pretty obvious. But with Cassian, there's so much, like, even as we're talking, I'm like, wait, but he's overly attached to his sister and still continues to look for her, and everybody's frustrated with him about that.
Yeah.
This whole time, like he really is an air spirit, like just like something where something that like it's just I can't think of almost anything that he's just like very definitively tied to. And then we know that he's going to be such a big deal in the rebellion, but then he's also going to stop existing not that long from now.
Right.
Well, he's going to leave the.
He's got a lot, yeah.
Well, in a way, we did see an example of something he was attached to when he wanted to go back to Niamos to go back in his old stuff to get the manifesto. So it is interesting that he, like, that almost was kind of surprising to me, where he like
Hmm.
cared so much about getting his old stuff back, like his
Yeah,
including the manifesto. So clearly that was important
yeah.
enough to him to retrieve after prison.
That and the lots of credits that
Oh
were in
yeah,
that
that's
Yeah,
case
and
and the
okay.
gun
Great point.
and the
fortune.
blaster
Okay, that's
and
probably
all the
that was
rest of that
probably the.
stuff. But
Okay,
sure,
you're right.
yeah, the
You're right.
manifesto.
It was probably about the credits. You're right. No, good point. Good
No,
point.
I love it.
Which
I think
I
it's
love. I
beautiful
love that
you.
the
I didn't.
manifesto just. Sorry, go ahead,
Started
Christina.
playing.
That's great. No, I was just saying I didn't even see the manifesto. I was like, oh yeah, he's getting his credits. Duh. I didn't even
Mm.
think about it. So I love that you focused on the manifesto being what he was thinking about.
Well, it started playing for a
Yeah,
second because the
yeah. I
manifesto
was.
is like an audiobook actually. It's like not a written book. It's an audio thing that Nemec recorded. And could briefly hear Nemec's voice, and the subtitles also said
Mhm.
Nemec when
Yeah, he like opened it for a second, and like Nemec's voice just like tyranny is the net. He
yeah,
just
it was a
closes.
tyranny required. Yeah.
Kind of a thing, like whoops, kind of a thing. Which was sad to have that reminder of Nemec, and also like not to be that person, but how long was Cassian in the prison? Couple like how long? A good little while, I feel, right?
Hmm.
More
You
than
know,
two
and so
months,
that
right?
yeah, so that suitcase was there in the bathroom of this hotel room, untouched for that long. It wasn't a very good hiding place. I mean, like when he stepped down, his head was pretty much level to where it was hiding. So like nobody tried to open or take that case.
Yeah,
I'm
it's true.
sorry.
Could you see who was
Um,
sleeping in the bed? It was like just another guest.
I liked that.
it was two guests. It was
Yeah.
someone. It was two creatures, or different species. But it's just funny that it just like was there this entire time.
So I have to
Um,
say that
also,
oh, go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
Oh no,
No, I was.
I'm going to Australia again soon, and we'll probably stay in the same place, and we'll probably request my same room, and so knowing that I was going to come back, last time I went, I hid something at the very top of like the dresser, and so when I go back there, I'm going to check if it's still there. Because I was
Oh
just
my goodness, if it's
curious
still
how,
there,
yeah,
then
I was
I
curious
will.
how
Yeah,
often
no.
like housekeeping goes all the way up there, how many people would actually go all the way up there. Because when I
It
go to
just felt
Australia,
like it
we're
was
staying for a
like.
few weeks, so I feel like I kind of like end up living there. It's not just like a
Yeah,
in and out thing, so I end up using a lot of the storage. So I don't know.
yeah. No, it just seemed
That's
funny
great.
that it was just like clearly someone could see what this is, and I mean maybe not open it, but like I guess assume that it was a housekeeping thing for like 2 months. I don't know, but what I was gonna jump though was Star Wars species creature alien alert.
Oh my
Not only did
gosh.
we get them,
My Z my.
like every time I see a creature in Star Wars, I'm like, oh yeah, I miss seeing more of this for some reason. I just feel like we've gotten so human centric, which is fine. I get it. Empire and Rebellion was like kind of like more. Those characters were more in line with humanoids and humans, but like it's fun to like still see these interesting different creatures. So like yeah, the Maizi Mai, those two.
2Z2.
Uh, uh, what were they? Narkinans? It looks
I
like
think
kind of
so.
a thing.
They were speaking Narkinian.
Yeah, that's what it said. The subtitles, and they had that like kind of broken Maizi Mai squigglies,
Yeah.
head yeah
Hey
kind
ya.
of a thing. And
Here.
I loved the we get this kind of kooky music for a second.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, we're gonna steal the ship, and it kind of gets to this like,
It's like dulcimer
like
kind
heist
of.
for a second.
It goes.
Yeah, like heist, but then we get these like little like descending crescendo, not
Chromatic.
crescendo,
Yeah.
chromatic.
Chromatic.
That's the word. I did. Yeah, I was a music major. Chromatic. And they're kind of like this, like almost like I'm listening back again, like this, like strings and like these like tuned like percussion like things, like that has a little like bounce to them,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
which I thought was like kind of this cool little kooky theme, and to have these two Narkinians just kind of like watching them with like, what are you guys doing? And then we hit this fantastic warm-up sound of the spider net thing.
Oh my god, yeah,
Whatever
it was
that
so
was.
It was
that was
so
so gross.
squishy.
I
Yeah.
know, it just like captures them. You're just like, ugh, you know.
Yeah, so it was
Oh,
like
you
a
got the music there.
it was like a
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
yeah, it was like a dulcimer harpsichord adjacent plucky synth line over like an electronic
Thing,
drum beat.
yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely the bounciness was definitely the bounciness of the like attack, but it wasn't like staccato. It was actually like it sounded legato, but with a plucky instrument. So it's was still kind
Yeah,
of
still
separate.
all this like weird detuny,
Yeah,
percussion-y,
yeah.
not quite the usual waver that we're used to. I
It
haven't
was more.
heard. I
It
didn't
was
hear
more
it.
like correct. It was more like the same note would strike detuned, so it'd be like
Yeah,
dee.
meow, 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 like little like bounces in the pitch itself, which was nice.
Yeah. Okay. Not to re-trigger myself with this broken thing,
It's
but
okay.
it's sort of like very just slightly off, but like that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
It was
Like
nice.
the distance between them is much smaller than a half step. And there was a lot of I've enjoyed the Andor music because the word that occurred to me finally was just the word non-binary. There's a lot of non-binary notes in the sense
Mm-hmm.
that a half step, so like a C to a C sharp is a binary movement. It can be perceived as a binary movement where you're either in tune with the note C or you're in tune with the note C sharp according to what pitches we've, or according to what hertz value we've assigned those notes. Um, but yeah, this show has a lot of detuned in between the two notes things, which I think is really
Mm-hmm.
nice.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's cool too because it shows this kind of fluidity in our tuning and our perception of what all this harmony is, kind of a thing, or what we as ourselves conceive as consonant harmony. But the addition really helps with the mood to have all this like really detuned metallic bowl like percussion kind of playing too, especially because they start talking about water a little bit, like the Empire's kind of taking our water. If you I don't do this experiment, friends out there on chat and watching this stream, go take a metal bowl, something that's got a nice ring or ding to it, kind of a thing. If you hit it with like a fork or a wooden spoon, fill it a little bit with water. If James was here, he would like have like 5 of these like ready to go to show us. But give it a nice strike and then kind of like move the water around. You'll hear the pitch like bend and waver with the water and the direction and stuff like that.
Huh.
And I kind of get the sense with some of these instruments, like these percussion metallic samples that are being used or recordings being used, is that maybe not directly having water in them, but very like inspired by this like weird detuning of metallic sounds.
What it sounded like to
Really,
me
Totally.
was what
What were you gonna
it
say,
sounded
Xanthe?
like to me was like real instruments or
Yeah.
like
It's nice.
real is not the right just like an out of tune instrument, like a honky tonk piano, like a saloon piano that's just been sitting there for a long time.
Oh yeah.
We are going to get that.
So
kind
it's
of
like
nice.
one of these almost.
that an auto
This is
harp?
an auto harp. This is it's a very different instrument, but it's the same idea. If you like, this is obviously not tuned to what we were. I should have done. I should have thought of that, but.
That's so cool.
Having like multiple strings tuned the same.
Yeah. Were you here, Justin? Were you here for our whole piano discussion? I think you were cutting in. I think that was.
I think I was cutting in and out.
You were I think you were cutting in and out, but yeah, we definitely were like talking about the piano as a like an analog
multi-string.
representation of just detuning.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So it's got, yeah. So like what you're saying, it sounds like a dulcimer clearly struck strings that were like slightly detuned from each other to give this like a chorus effect almost. The chorus effect is when you have multiple instances of the same thing, slightly out of tune, but also like playing the same note, just having the
Mm-hmm.
natural differences. You
Mm-hmm.
get a choir. Think
Yeah.
about like a lot of voices all singing the same note. Everyone's different. Everyone's slightly off from each other, and you get this nice,
Thick.
beautiful sound, thick
Yeah.
sound.
Mm-hmm.
It's same with like strings in an orchestra, or even,
Yes.
I mean, we have
Choral
guitar
agonized
pedals that are
pleading.
called,
Just kidding.
yeah, we oh no, we had a little mention of that again in this
Yes.
episode,
We did.
which was Bix is still affected by this sound. Do you think that she gave away Anton Krieger as like,
Yes.
was she like facing like, do I say yes so that my suffering can end, which is, unfortunately like the result of most harsh interrogation and torture is that
I
we'll
think
just
she
tell you
did.
whatever you want to hear just to make you stop.
I think she did.
Or yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
like
hope
how
that
we're
she
just
was
gonna like
crying out of relief.
yeah.
Yeah, I hope she was
Are we
crying
gonna
out of
meet?
relief that she was given a way out of not having
Yeah.
to like one thing that she can like not incriminate everyone that she knows. Just it's like finally I can just like say that this guy is the one. Uh, hopefully,
Yeah.
It was hard to tell.
or
Do you
she was
think we're
She
crying
gonna?
looked so
because
messed
she's
up.
like I can't.
Yeah. Do you think we're gonna meet Anton Krieger? It'd be kind of interesting to have this kind of semi-important character to the plot, like never be seen. Like we just hear, yeah, Spellhouse was a disaster, and you know, all we've seen of him so far is his hologram.
Mm-hmm. I have no
Mhm.
Be
idea.
kind of,
I feel
you
like
know,
he's gonna die though.
yeah. No, I'm sure Spellhouse is going to be an absolute disaster. Or no, I don't think Saw's going to come in at the last second. I loved that scene with Saw, by the way. The music was like very minimal.
Mm.
Got some like atmospheric stuff, but then we get this like again beautiful silent tension for a moment,
Mhm.
and then eventually some of these like nice pads. Not nice. They're still like very like dark and sinister and stretched out pads to kind of build the tension and the severity of Luthen and Saw's conversation. But just like again, we're seeing bit by bit Saw's sanity kind of and trust in everything just diminish for justifiable reasons. You know, it's not just that he was kind of off, it was because he was driven this way due to his own actions of wanting to like run solo. But um, it's wild, you know.
Yeah, Saw. You're willing to burn him, and then Luthen sort of justifying why. And actually, I do appreciate the justification.
Mm-hmm.
Like it helped their conversation elucidated things for me. It was convenient because to
Mm-hmm.
hear Luthen's explanation, and Saw is a good character for him to explain this to.
Yeah.
To kind of hear their back and forth was interesting. I mean, I feel like they are. I feel like Luthen is at this point more like Saw than he re-
Mm.
is admitting yet. And at one point, I felt like Saw was not testing him, but like first, I felt like Saw at first was wanting to not wanting to lose Krieger, just sort of like, what you're gonna doom 30 men, and Luthen kept saying plus Krieger, plus so 31, but plus Krieger, and
Yeah.
he's like, do you think it's worth losing Krieger? What if it was me instead of Krieger? So like Saw is realizing like, okay, he would be willing to burn me too, maybe. What would you do? What would you
But
do?
but we found out that he wasn't willing. He's not willing to burn Saw because Saw, if there's that moment where Saw realizes I have power in this situation, where he says like, you know that Luthen flat out says Anton Krieger means nothing to me because he's never seen me. If he gets captured, he doesn't know who I am. But if
Mm-hmm.
you get, he kind of implied if you get captured, and that's what Sauce is like. He can't hurt you, but I can.
Yeah.
You know, if I got captured, I could hand you over. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and Luthen doesn't know that. He flat out says like, I don't know what you're gonna do. I can't control you, Saw. But we have to work together, kind of a thing. But you're such a extreme outlier to how we
Yeah.
want to do things.
Well,
But
here
you're
we see
useful.
Luthen talking about putting in like at the end of last episode, we saw him speak philosophically about where he's at.
Hmm.
Here we're seeing him speak more concretely, channeling what he said philosophically. And then maybe next episode we'll see him actually carry out the action that he has spoken about in detail here and that he has, hinted at before. So I think this becoming more concrete for Luthen. Like, Luthen just I think Luthen's reminding that it's not just 30, it's 30 plus Krieger. I guess it's he know Luthen's almost like wallowing in his depravity at this point sometimes. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's very dark. Krieger is a source that he's cultivated for a long time. And so do we let Krieger go down and Luthen's thinking of the long game? Or do we warn him and throw away a source that's taken years to cultivate? So if he burns Krieger and then the line comes up, the line for the greater good.
For the greater good. I like how we also
Or the
I like
lesser
how we
evil.
also have named a character Two Tubes, which is kind of like awful and great at the same time, hilarious and like awful at the same time. And then Luthen just flat out throws him under the bus.
Yeah.
Like we don't even know if
I was
he
a little
is the
confused.
informant. Like he could actually be the informant. If who knows? And he's just
I was
like,
confused
oh yeah,
by that.
Tubes is doing it. And he's like, what? Oh yeah, he tells me everything.
I was like, what?
Yeah. That was good. It really pointed out just like you really can't trust me. You don't know. There is no way to know. I like that. I also like that Luthen kind of seemed to be genuinely asking Saw for advice. I mean, Luthen kind of seemed to know that that they would agree that they have to give up and that it's better to have an ISB agent than to have Anton Krieger and his group. Maybe it seems like they both agree on that. But the other thing I noticed was that while Saw works alone, it sounds like he likes knowing that there's others out there. So he's not alone in terms of he knows that there are different units doing different things. It's different to work. It's different to be alone, knowing that someone else has gone away, like knowing that Krieger's group is gone. I just wanted to point that out, that I think that Saw probably did. He seemed genuinely upset,
To
at
lose
the
30
idea
people, yeah.
of to lose Krieger. Yeah, to lose 30 people in Krieger.
31. Yeah.
Very interesting wording. I love that 30 people in Krieger.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Well, it's also, and it's interesting too, because we've been kind of led to see Saw as this like outlying extremist that's like not playing by the rules, but his moral line is that he's not going to sacrifice his own men, and he's not going to sacrifice people with the rebellion.
Yes.
And here's Luthen, who's in charge, saying, "Yeah, no, we're going to do this."
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't cross Luthen's moral line at all.
Well, it does occur to me that like when people know that they are doing certain things, it's easier to look for justification, or it's easier to look for advice from people who we know might be able to like Luthen's not going to run this idea by Mon Mothma. It's for his own soul. It's easier for him to run it by Saw. Yeah. And even here, seeing Saw kind of waffle at the beginning, having Saw come around at the end to just like for the for the greater good, call it what you will.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call it war. It almost, I can see it putting Luthen's mind at ease a little bit, that at least one other person just knows what's happening.
Hmm. It's really a friendship call. That's why Luthen's there. It appears that
Yeah.
Luthen might not even know that Saw is going to move on this, although he might, and he can't, he's going to say like, "Hey, you can't join Anton," But yeah, it's a friendship call. That's
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about B2 emo.
Do you think Luthen's going to die
Oh,
in the next episode?
I don't think so.
I think he will
I was
in the
just getting
show.
some
but
Luthen
not-
going to die soon feelings. Yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, I guess that's a good point. Like, it doesn't have to happen in the next episode. Clearly, the next episode is going to have some huge cliffhanger situations, right? Like, there's no way all this can resolve unless it is really, really cheesy,
Right.
or at
Yeah, we're
least
gonna find
we
out.
I
assume.
don't know. The last time we had everything converges on one thing, it was the Book of Boba Fett finale. So that was
so
really tough.
Rancor is gonna come out of
It was
nowhere.
very difficult to experience.
Oh, it was wonderful.
All the
It was
factions coming
wonderful.
out, doing their moves. That was very.
Cad Bane's gonna appear. No, it's gonna be great.
Oh yeah,
Um,
Cad Bane's going to appear.
It's just gonna appear. Well, it's either that or we're gonna pull some ridiculous thing like Clea is Cassian's sister this
Right.
entire time.
Mhm.
Well, it's funny because
Wow.
I'm in this conspiracy war with my dad right now because he thinks that Clea is Leia.
Oh my god.
He's like convinced that Clea is Leia. He keeps saying like they keep saying Leia. I'm like Clea. Her name is Clea. He's like exactly Clea. Leia. She's she's obviously Leia. I'm like she's not Leia.
No.
She's not Leia.
Oh my god.
It's been funny.
That is funny.
But
That's
he's on
funny.
the. But my outlandish conspiracy is that she's going to turn out to be Cassian's sister, because we've just conveniently not mentioned her ever again after like 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Right? Remember that's how this all started. But yeah, let's talk about B2 emo because
Yes.
B2 emo is my
So
favorite.
expressive.
Such an expressive little droid.
Yes.
I wonder if they're using similar techniques to like
wonderful.
so R2D2 famously was created using the human voice being run through a synthesizer called the ARP 2500, 2600, 2600, and because it was a semi-modular synthesizer that you could use patch chords with, but if you didn't, it still made a sound. Like you could like reroute it, but it still had internal routing, and it had a microphone input, so you could put your voice or any other instrument into the synthesizer and use its like filters and effects and stuff like that. So a lot of R2D2 was created to sound human because it was a human voice making these sounds,
Yes.
just being
Mhm.
modulated by like ring modulators. So I'm curious how much they did that with B as well. I mean, obviously, B speaks human basic,
Mhm.
and I haven't quite found the pattern to his stuttering. I keep thinking that there's a pattern, like or something that he'll always stutter
Like certain
on.
letters and certain.
Yeah, I feel like B, he stutters on like Bix or
And Mama
Um,
Marva.
yeah,
Marva.
and there's like there's a couple like he'll always kind of stutter on, but I'm curious if they like any of his other sounds were kind of like gesturally or biologically controlled instead of like me sitting there with like making automation curves in Logic and like controlling the exact like little waver. If it's more like if I had like a hand controller like woo woo, can like human expressively like control what how B is emoting, sounding.
That's very reasonable. I would think to have a hand controller
Yeah.
for B. It also
You mean
sounds
in conjunction
easier and
with, like, a voice
faster
actor?
even than automating.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like
Yeah.
the ARP. Sort of
Yeah.
like the R2. You're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we do know that there is a puppeteer, right? There is a puppeteer, and I think does he do the voice too? Dave Chapman. Let's see. Dave Chapman, actor and puppeteer that worked on Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance, and Muppet Treasure Island, Muppets Most Wanted. He also
Hey.
worked in Solo, and is one of the puppeteers behind BB-8. Okay, providing the voice of B2 Emo. I'm reading from a Collider article. Providing the voice of B2 Emo, Chapman gives an immersive, convincing performance, conveying eagerness, anxiety, and even a tinge of loneliness in the droid. By the pitch of his voice, we can tell B is elated to see Cassian, willing to keep his secrets, and able to give a detailed report on what's occurred in his absence. The occasional stutter in B's speech forms makes for a trepidatious but trusting personality in the droid, as well as making him all the more lovable. Okay, I'm not sure if it's saying actually. Okay. Additionally, serving as the puppeteer, Chapman breathes life into B2 Emo. The minor head tilts and bobs convey just as much emotion as his dialogue, if not more. That was something I was going to say. It was like the body movements, and also like especially like the eye and the eyes, the way that the eyes shudder on, the blink and stuff. Anyway, in the first episode, Cassian tells B he needs to leave only minutes after meeting. The droid asks if he can accompany him. Cassian says no. Due to time constraints, B lowers his head into his body and lurches forward in dejection, the same way a dog lowers or raises its tail to fit its mood. Okay, I guess this doesn't tell that much, but it does kind of tell. It is clear that there are lots of parts on B2 that can be moved, and for emoting reasons, and that definitely plays a part. Like that they are even aware of like the bobbing and the tilting and the dog kind of wagging. Yeah. The eyes
B is
of
actually
B2.
one of, well, I guess I was going to say B is one of the most emotive characters, which is not really true, but because then I remembered like Mon Mothma, Cassian.
Right.
Cassian's face of tragedy when he hears that that Marva has passed away, and I mean, I actually recorded up on my phone, just like it was like a whole minute of like beautiful, really tragic scenery. Like it was beautiful ocean, and then just Cassian's face of, I mean, he was just so sad, and did such a good job portraying that visually. Uh, but it's interesting, BMO is kind of one of the only ones who like emotes obviously and doesn't have a part to play, I guess. Like Mon Mothma is really sad, but only in asides or when she's absolutely certain that no one else can see her being really sad. Um,
Well, the thing with
with
B2
like with
is
Vel.
well, the thing with B2 is B2 doesn't have much control, much agency over like what goes on in his life. So all he can really do is react to what is going around him as a droid, either what people are asking of him or like he doesn't have his own. He's not a main character in his own. He's not a main character in his own story, even really.
Right.
And
I have
go ahead.
Do you think that B is a he, or so? I really liked the moment when and I just really liked the moment when was it Jez who said like the daughters of Ferrix need to stand strong now. We all need to keep it together. Like it was a pep talk for B to keep it together. And I just thought that was really interesting. And I was thinking, oh, that's interesting, the concept of B as a daughter of Ferrix and what that could mean. I kind of I enjoyed it. Almost had me. I mean, I kind of went off the deep end with it, but I was like, it'd be really cool almost if B even like I got this feeling that B had been in this daughter of Ferrix fight situation for like a really really long time, and I don't know. I liked that.
I get the sense that B2, well, I guess at least on Wikipedia, it says his gender is masculine. Like, droids are given program masculine or feminine or not, or neither programming sometimes. And I don't know if that's like been mentioned or if it's just been observed and stated. So, but the Daughters of Ferrix, like, I kind of got the sense that, well, the Daughters of Ferrix are important to Ferrix. And I don't know if they're so much a rebellion themselves, but they are like they seem to be an important group. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure what B2 was originally programmed to do or what kind of support he was supposed to provide. But it seems like I took that as like, you have to be there to support the Daughters of Ferrix. They're very important.
I wonder if he's got,
Mm.
with his connection to Marva, yeah, like some kind of important thing in his circuitry that he doesn't
Oh,
know about, that he's hiding. He has some kind of, maybe they've been using B2 as like, this kind of like, they seem very, like, no one so far has been like, what do we do with this droid? It's been, let's give the droid some space. They've been very respectful to the character B2 emo, and like kind of doing this like, no, we have a plan for you. We're not just gonna shut you down and like sell you off. No, you're staying with us. So it feels
mm-hmm.
like, again, either Marva's still alive and they want, they're gonna keep him around, or he's got something in him, like physically, like a plan or a memory device or something that's really important. It just feels like they're just not just like.
I think they just care about him, Justin. Just kidding.
I think so too, but in a way that like beyond just it's the family dog kind of a thing.
Okay, now that I'm reading up, first of all, I can't help but notice that his name is B2 Emo.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
ground mech salvage assist unit that served the Andor family for years. The wary old droid used his many tools to tow scrap for members of the human family, including Cassian Andor. So I guess he kind of is sort of like the family dog. Just been with the Andor family for years. He's old, has data lags and stuttering. Yeah, I don't know. But what a droid. I
Interesting.
really like this droid.
What a droid. What a wonderful droid.
That also is making me think about how, in a way, Andor is a much bigger thing than just Cassian. Maybe it does go back to like if the Andor family line is something that is followable, is big enough to be noted and maybe has some prominence back in the day. I just think that's interesting. Maybe there's something more familial about the word Andor being the name of the show, as opposed to Cassian
True.
himself.
That's true. I'm just realizing too that we haven't heard, like, the first time we meet B, we get this really cool like music.
That's
Kind of,
true. Yeah.
it's got that. We had this like cool little arpeggiated little beats and stuff like that, and we haven't heard that ever again. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
He hasn't been like in the show like prominently since those episodes, but we haven't heard his music or B's music in a while.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's like super plucky and.
Yeah. I do have. Yeah, I do have that. Okay. Let's see. There's another dulcimer type thing.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it was like. Let's see. I just want to make sure because there were kind of two cues that used that sort of sound. The other one was like in the Imperial whatever place when Cyril was getting his. Oh yeah, it was like. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah, it was this one.
Yeah.
Coordination.
Yes, that one.
Yeah. There we go. We did it.
I loved that music. Yeah, we haven't heard that at all.
True. Yeah, you're right. It did have the dulcimer like pulses. Does remind me of the music that we heard on Narkina though. This new
Yeah.
The chromatic run. But also B's not in a very spunky mood right now, so maybe. Although, and also I will say that like in the interview that Tony Gilroy did on Soundtracking show a couple weeks ago, he said that they are on purpose not doing a leitmotif based show, straight up, on purpose. Even though like clearly there are some themes that do keep recurring, it's not like it's not really so like he states that at the beginning they thought that they would kind of make up a few themes and then be able to, you know, drop them in places and sort of do that kind of puzzle fitting themes in and kind of just reworking themes into the appropriate places. And then he said that that's not what they did at all, pretty much.
Yeah, even though we do have like a
Yeah.
couple examples, obviously, of this happening. Like when even in this episode, when Luthen and the what was it, the arrestor ship, the tractor beam ship came in. Like the moment that tractor beam ship appeared, we heard the da da da, the kind of imperial
The ISB
theme
type
kind of,
thing.
the ISB type theme kind of come in. And then really that just kind of faded into some like intense action music while like I felt like sound design really took over in that scene.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was
We
that
had the ship
shrapnel
powering
hitting?
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those like needle things just destroying that satellite. That was kind of like a
That was
cool looking
yeah.
thing,
That was
That
really
was so
really like
cool.
ingenious, really.
right? They weren't lasers; they were sharp somethings like needles almost. You got that kind of spraying sound coming out. We got this low subby hum of the tractor beam, kind of like, and even though they had that moment where he like, did you notice that when he first kind of like gunned it out of the tractor beam, like their ship kind of did this like moment. They all just kind of, in the Imperials were just kind of, what was that? You know, yeah, this like kind of lurch forward kind of thing, which was kind of cool, and just like, you know, lots of engine sounds hissing and gears and wearing up, and it was nice. And then lightsaber wings or something, like he just did his little, we had these like laser things coming out of his ship as he did a barrel roll.
I think it's the most tricked out ship.
Yeah, it was like I think
Yeah,
the first
right.
it was the
That's so
first
cool.
probably instance of a tricked out ship in Star Wars that like I could kind of understand it. Like I did know I did sense like, okay, Luthen's ship probably is not powerful enough to just like outrun them or get out of this tractor beam. So I was like, what are they doing with this? Is he really gonna try that ship? Let me guess, it's another like Falcon. It's another Mary Sue ship. No, I'm just but but
he bypassed the compressor.
yeah, right. But the fact that there was like a very tangible like thing that he did that was really kind of really kind of like ingenious, really, and a unique, like a creative solution, a creative thing that still felt appropriate for what that Hallcraft was. Like it didn't feel too big for what it like. It felt appropriate for the size of that ship, and also like, you know, Luthen is a good pilot, so there is that. But like, yeah, it felt just very tangible. Not like, oh, turns out we had an extra cannon or some like random thing where it's like, okay, this is where I suspend disbelief. Yeah, no, it felt like a clapback that I could relate to. Very scrappy, literally like thing. Also, I couldn't help but notice the Alderaanian code, the Alderaanian ship that he had. So like, is Luthen from Alderaan, or is this just?
I don't know. I felt like I think it was maybe Alderaan was like on the Empire's side. You know what I mean? Like they're not causing problems quite yet, kind of a thing. So it's like here's something that they'll believe and like not question. You know, I prefer
I
that
think
it's
the other
Alderaan, 'cause
thing
he
about
could-
an Alderaanian ship is that the planet Alderaan doesn't really believe in military defense. Like they literally don't have a military defense system or like a ray shield or anything like that around the planet like everyone else has. I mean, not that everyone else has, but like that's kind of like if you're super rich, you have that. And and Alderaan is a planet like that. So basically, I think it's also kind of like saying like, oh, I'm from like a pacifist place. Like I'm not gonna do anything bad to you. Reel me in. Turn your tractor beam on. Turn it on high. and
Also,
then attract all my spikes to your tractor beam, satellite, and I just think it was kind of like playing the safe,
yeah,
playing like the sweet little lamb,
maybe. I also think
and
Alderaan is
also
just a pretty
believable.
standard planet. Like it's a core world. It's not
Yeah.
like it's pretty. It's like saying, if you're trying to be like, no, I'm from America, and you just are like, okay, New York, or like California. Like just pick one of the big cities that people know people
Yeah.
from. He says specifically Alderaan Trade Alliance. ID confirmed, sir. Alderaan Trade Alliance. And then they give a number. I didn't look up if the number is meaningful or anything, but I guess it doesn't really matter. But yeah, the Alderaan thing was interesting. Like clearly, this is trade alliance makes sense for a merchant, I guess. Though the Alderaan part was, I'm not sure. Also, I heard some people making the joke, calling the hall craft the mall craft, which was pretty funny.
Dual light. Oh, I get it. Ha,
Minecraft.
that's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
It
I
had
do
a
like
Sith
that the
look to
whole
it.
craft. Yeah, I like that it's also got like like a couple like lineage things to the Millennium Falcon kind of a thing. I'm trying to figure out like where in the design timeline it was. Like did the Falcon style come first, or did this version come first, kind of a thing, like which became what eventually down the design path.
That's a good question. The Fondor. It was.
Fondor and the Falcon.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. Yeah, the Fondor. That's funny. Yeah, that's a good.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't a Fondor like a bird?
It's interesting.
Is it a bird? Why do I think
There's
Fondor is a
definitely
bird?
condors.
Condor. Oh, that's probably what I'm thinking. Okay, never mind. Never mind. So let's see. A couple other sound things to point out. One is the klaxon. We heard
Mm-hmm.
from the Hallcraft, and then we heard the ding 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 thing.
Uh-huh.
We also did hear briefly the time
Nice.
grappler, and the droid. I wanted to point out the caption saying "mechanical whimper."
Mechanical whimper.
Yeah. The last four numbers are the date of the Star Wars premiere in 1977. Oh. Let me find out what the. Okay, the number is one. Oh no, I know I wrote this down. Alderaan. There we go. Alderaan 129 12505. So 2505. Oh, like, gotcha. May 25th. Oh. Thank you. Thank you. I knew there had to be something happening with the number. Numbers are just too good of an opportunity to do that. To slip something in there.
A113.
There was also a really good in when Vel was leaving Clea. We got to hear the door of their shop, the automatic door, swivel around several times in a row. It was really nice. I enjoyed the sound design there of the door. Just thought
Also, the I don't know what to make of the what are those new aliens? The Mai 2Z2. I think they're two different. I think they're both different, but
Yeah.
what did we think of their voices and their speech?
The Narkinians?
I don't like. Yeah, the Narkinian characters.
I think like I
I
feel
tried to
like I feel like I don't
He-
understand them yet.
Yeah, he reminded they were the one that was speaking the broken basic reminded me of
a
somebody.
Coredian.
Yeah, reminded me of some actor or some like character from before, and I can't place it. But
Well,
it was
he
like
kind of reminded me of Dexter.
Dexter.
Dexter Jetster. Dex's Diner.
Oh yeah, yeah. Now that you say that, I think he was one of those.
Are
He
they the
must
same
have been
species?
one of those.
No.
They look well. He had like the turtle hat, right? They looked very.
Wait, now I'm like
Dex,
Dexter,
Star
Jetster,
Wars. That's
because
right,
that's what he
Dex.
reminded me of. Well,
No, they look pretty different.
yeah, they're
But
different. They
but
both
they
have frog
definitely
kind of
look.
faces.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
interesting. Good old Dex. Um, good old Dex. Yeah, no, okay, so that's
But their voices did seem similar, ish.
yeah, and I liked that it was kind of like again the broken basic, the maizy, the tuzi, they had these different words to mean stuff that we understood, but not and then like kind of like what is it saying and
Hey, yeah.
hidya, hit
Unkar Plutt,
stuff
a little
like
bit.
that. They both got the. I feel like that Dex that you just popped up is a little too fit. Or is that just the species?
Oh, it's a species.
Oh, okay, because Dex was definitely a little bit more like the character on the left
Yeah.
there.
The basilisk is the name of Dex's species.
Basilisk. Yeah, okay. I liked their voices though.
So look
Very
at their
deep.
coloring. I mean, yeah, they do look different, but their coloring and kind of the space that I can imagine their voice box or whatever having.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of if anybody's ever seen the movie version of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
I have, I
They
just don't
remind me
really
of
remember it.
the what is it the Vogons. It reminds me of a Vogon a little
Oh.
bit.
Okay. Hitchhiker's Guide. Unkar Plutt. Oh, Unkar Plutt. Oh, okay. I'm looking up.
Vogons, yeah.
I guess there are lots of creatures kind of.
They kind of remind me of the Vogons, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I wasn't sure. Like, I have to say, like, I wasn't sure at the point at which they decided to go from selling them to helping them. I'm not exactly sure where that turn was.
That was a little bizarre. That I got a little lost even with reading the subtitles. I was kind of like, they kind of like decided that, well, if the Empire's just killing everybody, they're gonna get back at the Empire by not killing them and taking the money reward. Like,
Yeah.
what? And we're gonna give you a ride to your destination.
Well, it seemed like. Well, it almost felt like. Okay, I'm going to read from the transcript because maybe it'll make more sense now. All right, my prison hey, escapers 2z2. Okay, so I'm guessing that means this reminds me of like high school or maybe when we'd take like the Shakespeare whatever and then next to it kind of write a translation or something. Okay, 2z2. So there's two of them. 1,000 each. The offer be, and I guess that was kind of pirate like. The offer be.
B and E. You're saying lots of B's and E's.
So they were gonna 1,002, one for each of us, Freedy, and I mentioned a double E. Freedy is a double E name, so we have another character behind the green glass door.
Freedy.
Better fishing on land these times. Hey, okay, so like,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know
Better
what that
fishing on
means.
land. We caught more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that means
like
we caught more.
yeah.
On land than we do in the
Walking
water.
around.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, and then
Yeah,
killed
we
our
caught
water
these
then.
two.
Hey, and then not much squiggly left. Not much left. Okay, so I guess they're commenting on how there's not much left in the water for them to catch. Okay. We meant you no harm. No, that's them. We killed nothing. Prison done it. Spoilt our water. Oh, so the prison. Oh, it's a commentary on since they live, like the prison being on their planet affects their planet. Okay, yeah. Prison done it. Spoilt our water. All of our water. Hey, Freedy. No biggie dinner tonight like past times, Freedy. Water spoil here and far. All your Scobin prison. What does Scobin mean? Anyone know what Scobin?
All your scobbing.
I think it's just like a just a curse word.
Like all your damn
their
prison.
language. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay, so they
You're
are like
friggin'.
they're like you did this. You're the prison. You did this, and then that's what when they're
Yeah.
like that's the empire. We were trapped. It's their prison. Like, oh, okay. So now they're realizing. They say always the empire. Hey, and so they're realizing okay, it's not your fault. The empire got both of like screwed both of us here. Yeah. What is he saying? He's saying alive or dead. The offer goes 2Z2. Melshi says, hang on. And then they say, kill anyone they would. Kill the water, kill the squigglies. Guessing that's fish. Care not a snod who they kill. Scob the empire. Okay, I get it. Like, screw the empire. They not be killing ye. Nay, today. Okay, I get it now. After doing a close read. Care not a
I
snod
think
who
they're
they kill.
just like,
Yeah, the main one. The one who is like talking,
Yeah.
doing the talking. The one with the knife hand is sort of like, I think wants to still, yeah. But yeah, I think the one who is speaking is like, all right, well, they won't get another one today. They're not going to be killing you today.
Yeah.
Nay, today. Wise to be jumping quickly, though. Like, we should get out of here quickly, though. Where are you looking to run now? All right. There we have it. I get it now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just some friendly,
that was elucidating.
Yeah. It's just some class solidarity,
help.
perhaps.
yeah,
Yeah.
friendly Narcanian passerbys with their
And they've
sticky nets.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end, they have their back, which I think is like, I think it's really nice how they help them. They don't have to.
Yeah.
They could eat them. They're hungry, right? They could eat them. But they're kind of like the empire is screwing all of us. And instead of just trying to get ahead and at least try to just at least now they can eat 2 people if they eat them. Then
I think they were gonna eat them.
Yeah,
I think they were gonna sell them.
oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
They're gonna sell them.
That was just
Yeah.
a shortcut.
Bye.
Yeah, they can eat them by
They
way
eat
of
squigglies,
selling.
maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. At the end, they're going to
Yeah.
help their fellow people who are suffering under the empire. I like these guys. Yeah. They didn't have to do that.
Do you think they're waiting for Cassian? Like maybe they took Cassian to Neamos and he was like, "Hey, let me like go get some money and I'll bring you some. Like, thank you so much. Like, I'll be back in a minute." Like maybe he's gonna be with them for a bit and they're gonna be a little
It's going
squad.
to be like a Hakuna Matata situation. They're going
Little
to
squiggly squad.
squiggly squad.
They're the squiggly
The
squad.
squiggly squad. I love the squigglies. I think that's so
Oh.
The
cute.
squiggly squad.
That is cool.
Well, actually, then going there for a second. Speaking about that ending,
Yes.
the music there
Yes.
was absolutely heartbreaking. I liked that. You know, we've been having these very synthy openings and endings, and they keep getting more synthy, and then to this episode's opening was very not. It had like some electronic elements
It
in
had
there.
some
Absolutely,
ferrex
it had
to
some.
it.
Had some ferrex, some harp. There was some interesting percussion and stuff like that. But then this ending was, we went back to string quartet, or I mean not
It felt-
specifically a quartet, but you know, we went back to like small string ensemble, long stretches with that like the one cello or like low violin or viola kind of like giving us this like kind of counter thing.
Yeah, it felt
Um,
like a cello viola quartet or something. And
Yeah,
it started more spare and like I wish that my viola didn't like have a emergency right before we went live because I was gonna live loop it.
R.I.P.
But yeah, it was like as my chin rest kind of okay, I need to okay. It was like okay, there was a sustain and another like viola or cello. I can't sing and do this at the same time. And then
You're doing great. What are you talking about?
and then the other line was like
That's quite good.
okay, let me Okay, let me get another one. And there were clashes like that, like on purpose. So another clash that was happening was like.
Mm-hmm. I sound like I don't know how to play my instrument. That was another one. Those notes were clashing together. Anyway, there's lots of basically a few of the lines that were happening were like Yeah,
there were like, and then
and
there
it's
was also
cool.
this one that was
Mm-hmm.
coming in
I was
later.
gonna. Yeah, I loved as we got farther into this like this track, those dee 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 kind of becomes this like dee 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 dee, and there's like another one happening, so it kind of becomes this almost like dovetailing kind of stereo effect, almost like you get this like do 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 as it kind of builds a little farther into the track as it like develops more, you know,
Yeah.
and you get these like very like it's cool. It's like you're getting motion, a lot of motion, not emotion, but motion. Well, both really, but like a lot of motion in the sound. Like it's this kind of like tempoliess, timeless thing that's all flowing and synced together. You know, like there's no like here's the one, all and here's clearly beat two, but everyone's just kind of flowing together in this long stretch of a breath almost. Um, and how much like motion you can get with how smooth and dragging it is. It's and I think that has a lot to do with all the strings being in the same register, like very similar registers.
Yeah.
Um, and instead of getting these like and also like very smoothly playing, so instead of like a harsher attack to the sound where we can clearly hear dun 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 dun, we're getting da, 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 this like very legato kind of thing happening. um, it almost like becomes this cloud of sound to me.
Yeah.
Aha, you got it.
Let's see if
Yeah.
I didn't add the tied notes. Don't judge me.
Maybe violin, my favorite.
I didn't really. This was meant for me to perform, not play from the score, so I left some obvious stuff out. Okay, I'll skip to this part with the triplet, with these things that come in. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Etc. There we go. There's my
Yeah.
little thing that I whipped up like 15 minutes before the stream, before my viola emergency.
Yeah, that's great. I think this music is really evocative for me of Arvo Pärt,
Yes.
and particularly his
Yeah.
homage to Benjamin Britten, where it just takes his Benjamin Britten theme, where it's just the repeating series of legato string notes, and every section just kind of takes turn performing those motifs, and then they all just kind of accumulate and into one kind of chaotic, painful chord at the end. That's kind of how that piece plays out, and 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 I guess that immediately makes me think, just in terms of the plot, of how we've got all these different plot lines that are all kind of related, but they're all maybe going to come together in the next episode in some sort of chaotic, painful
Mm-hmm.
experience. But yeah, for me, it was very Arvo Pärt, and it was, and I really have a deep love for that kind of chamber music where there's so much space perceptible in between the different parts, I really
Mm-hmm.
enjoy that, and I kind of enjoy with this the way they with the pacing of this section, how it really felt like plodding. It's like plodding,
Yeah.
not like
Not like Unker
the
flooding.
TT
Mm-hmm.
kind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, it just felt kind of like onward plodding, but also I don't know that there was something kind of hopeful about it, but really not. Uh, but it was very. It reminded me of that scene, just like Cassian's face of tragedy, plus the beautiful sun and ocean around him,
Mm-hmm.
kind of feeling. Yes, Cantus in Memoriam, Benjamin Britten. Um, yeah, that's but it really was evocative of that for me.
Yeah.
And of Fratres a little bit, or not Fratres, of
Spiegel.
Spiegel im Spiegel,
Yeah.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
which is I think
Probably the
Mirror
most
in
famous.
Mirror.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so just a similar way where it's very relaxing in a dark, mostly dark way. Although I find Spiegel im Spiegel to be genuinely relaxing.
Yeah, me too.
Like
Yeah.
if I need a moment, that's a great one to take.
I did a performance of
Mm-hmm.
that live stream and Facebook blocked it. So they,
Oh.
yeah, they thought it was a recording of that universe, something, I don't know, whatever. The bots,
Yeah.
they thought it was like a
So
recording of a UMG recording or something. I was like, no, this is live. They thought, yeah, they thought I was playing copyrighted music on stream, but it was a live performance. Anyway,
those algorithms.
yeah.
Surveillance
It's
overlords.
more likely. I mean, it seems more likely to happen with like minimalist music,
Yeah.
where there's not enough like
Yeah.
obvious tempo fluctuation, where it's
Mm-hmm.
not obvious that it's like if I picked a tempo that was pretty similar to the tempo of a recording, I could
Mm-hmm.
see how it would, you know. Anyway.
I I get you. I got a good ding on Instagram over the summer that I'm still kind of like confused about. Um, I did use somebody else's music. I will admit that absolutely, but it was the Vince Guaraldi version of "Christmas Time Is Here."
Mm-hmm.
Do, 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 do. Not only that, I put it on a tape cassette, a very warbly, bad tape cassette, so it was like warbly and
Yeah.
stuff. So you could kind
Mm.
of barely figure out what it was.
Oh wow.
And years later, I posted this years ago, and just this summer I got dinged by Instagram saying you used copyright music by this certain artist. And what they dinged me for was copyrighted music by an artist who recorded a version of Christmas Time Is
Yeah.
Here last year. So, and it wasn't even Vince Guaraldi.
Yeah.
So
That
I
happens
was,
to
I
me
got,
all the time on the channel, and it's so
yep,
infuriating. Yeah, for sure. For
yep.
sure. I get a
It was,
copyright claim, and it's like not even for the thing I used. Like for me, it'll be like I get claimed for someone sampling the thing that I used.
yeah, yeah.
And
So
I'm
it's
like,
like if you're gonna ding me, at least like ding me for Vince Guaraldi and not
yeah.
like
Yeah.
whoever recorded this their version of it last year. You know.
It happened in for those who don't know, Star Wars Music Minute started Empire Strikes Back season on Monday. So episode 1 is on the
Whoop, whoop.
channel talking about the first
Whoop, whoop.
talking like a big introduction to the music of the Empire Strikes Back. And in that, I'm playing the 20th Century Fox fanfares back to back because we're comparing, a couple of different versions of them. And I was flagged for the 20th Century Fox fanfare, but it didn't. I wasn't flagged for the fanfare. I was flagged by this completely other different piece that I'd never heard of. I looked it up, and it was like they sampled the 20th Century Fox fanfare, and I was just like, how do I even write my dispute? Like it's like I was gonna say fair use because I'm providing commentary anyway, but now I'm just like,
Yeah.
now I have to write like, first of all, this isn't the correct song, but even if it
Right.
were,
You
fair
ding.
use. But
Yeah. Like if you're gonna ding me,
Incorrect.
get me for the right thing.
yeah. Anyway, one of my videos is still not has been taken down on my channel because of something like that, where I wrote back being like, this isn't even the song, and they manually denied it. Anyway, it's a whole thing. It's
Ugh.
completely unfair. I did not use this song that they're claiming, but they were sampled the song that I was trying to use. which did not claim me. So anyway, okay. I guess we are done talking about Andor episode 11. Yeah, next week, I guess we'll be talking about the finale.
Yeah, whatever that's gonna be. Are we gonna meet the sister, or is Andor gonna go back? Are we gonna? I like this thing in the chat we saw that maybe Marva's body's actually a bunch of explosives, and we're gonna blow up the
Yeah.
hotel.
Yeah.
Like what's
Oh,
you
yeah.
know is BMO and is B2 emo? Is that what this is? Is this a reference to BMO from Adventure Time? I think that'd be really cute. Is B2 emo the explosives? Which would make me
No.
horrifically sad. It's making me sad already, even like saying such a horrible thing. Is like, are we gonna? Is Deidre gonna get her triangle of triumph, or is it gonna be a sad anvil of destruction?
I think we're gonna
Which
get
we
an
got to see the
anvil.
anvil again today. We did see the anvil again.
We did.
on in this episode, with the correct pitches, which is funny because we had a dispute last week of
Right.
them being a little different.
I think we're gonna get.
I don't
I
know,
think we're
man.
gonna get a big time grappler symphony. No, choral agonized. I think we're gonna get a whole time grappler. I don't know, suite next week.
Sweet.
A whole performance,
It's
a
gonna be
whole
interesting.
thing, a whole reckoning. A reckoning. Yes.
Yeah, whole new reckoning. Oh man, I'm excited.
Yeah. Get all the anvils out. Hit stuff.
All the anvils. Yeah, are we gonna hear the tink 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 tink? You know,
I think we're gonna hear
that
all
again?
of anything that can be hit will be hit next week. That's my
Oh, yeah.
prediction.
All the big drums. All the big drums.
And the bells and everything. Anyway,
All right.
yeah. Thanks for joining us for Andor episode 11 music and sound discussion. Hope to see you next week. We don't have the time confirmed yet, but just look out on the channel for when that live stream gets scheduled. And yeah, thanks Christina, thanks Justin, and I will
Anytime.
be talking to you both very soon. Also on Monday,
Thanks,
an
Xanthe.
episode about The Empire Strikes Back with Christina will be coming out.
Woo
So
woo woo.
that will be fun.
Excited.
Yes. All right, let's do our outro.
Wee, 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 wee.